Bhadram karnebhi shrnuyama devaha Bhadram pashyemakshabhiryajatraha Stirairangaihi tushtuvagam sastanubhihi Vyashemadevahitam yadayuhu Svastina indro vrdhashravaha Svastina pusha vishwavedaha Svastina starkshyo arishtanemihi Svastino brahaspatir dadhatu Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. So I'm going to redraw this diagram to make it more clear. Purpose is to show that intelligence is present all throughout. So body reduces into hand, cells, molecules, atoms, particles. Okay. But then we said that take any part of the body, like the intelligent placement of body parts. So intelligence you can find. You can find intelligence in the liver, right? Or the kidneys, detoxifies. You can find it in the hand. For example, we have 5 fingers and they're able to grab onto things and the muscles are able to contract and hold. So there's a grip force. And there is ability to, for each part of the finger to bend, and then there's nails. Okay, so there's kind of an intelligence about your hand. Then you look at a cell. The cell, we said, can produce 4 kinds of fuels. The cell takes glucose from the sugars and it uses that for energy. Molecules are carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen. 5 of them equals adenine, which creates adenine. And then you have carbon 5, hydrogen 5, nitrogen 5 plus oxygen. You have guanine. These 4 molecules make up what we call DNA. So it's basically just A, G, 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 C, T, T, T. It's just like binary, like 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1. And that creates a blueprint for what color of your eyes will be and what hair you will have, blonde or black. How tall you will be. Information stored inside DNA. Blueprint for the physical body. How do we know that you have a subtle body? Can you find the love for spirituality inside DNA if it's just inert molecules, which is just atoms, which is just protons and neutrons? Or Mozart, right? He's born, just natural ability for music. Can you find that inside DNA? You could argue, well, you kind of can. You just put A, G, G, C, T equals love for music. But then if you break down each of these, they're just inert molecules and atoms, which also create this ordinary pen. This pen doesn't have love for music. In other words, you're not going to find love for music intrinsic inside an atom. Therefore, then the rishis say, therefore, there's something else. There's a physical body, that's the DNA, and there is a subtler body, which is what we call the mind. And then we said that particles are nothing, that means I'm talking about quarks now, are nothing but probabilities because they're constantly collapsing value. Their mass and spin is constantly collapsing into a value, into up or down or a particular mass, which makes up a proton and neutron. Or you could say possibilities, or we could say information, or we could say blueprint. Now you say, this sounds like Ishvara. No, it doesn't. Because we are at the level of particles. We said particles still depend on time. Not only that, but we said that Ishvara or Brahma is also the creator, not only the blueprint for quarks, but also the blueprint for laws, such as cause and effect, such as dharma, such as justice. So you cannot equate these probabilities or possibilities or information to the creator, The creator is also called Blueprint, Mr. Blueprint, but you can't attribute Mr. Blueprint at the level of the quarks because it's a blueprint for laws, blueprint for karma pala, your past results, time and space. Whereas here, particles depend on time and space. So there is obviously an intelligence that is greater than particles. Before the universe came, let's just take the Big Bang model. So once upon a time, it's kind of ironic, once upon a time there was nothing, okay? Now, something came from nothing. Is that possible? No. Because that which came, right, once the Big Bang came, what started to come? Not only space and time came, that's the first thing that came, but what came after? Then they say the first particles started to come, and those particles started to arrange themselves, so on. A couple billions of years later, you have this. Now, what is all this? Intelligence. So whatever time and space came from has to be an intelligent cause. The question is intelligence... Yeah, in Vedanta we use both words simultaneously. They're synonyms. Yeah. Although, see, in common parlance, in common language, you could say like, I'm now learning knowledge about history. So that word knowledge is very different than the total knowledge that I'm talking, the total blueprint. Yeah, so the context changes. But through this analysis, what am I ultimately seeing? Intelligence. It's just like in your dream. Your mind with an amazing ability to project from intelligence of your own mind, it creates a physical hand, physical wall, then you then can't go through, physical laws.
Can you tell where matter starts? Where comes material in this model? Is it intelligence? It's not matter, not subtle matter, or is it?
Good. So intelligence would matter. No, intelligence that would start at in between here, called 5 elements. So matter starts here, because even time and space is matter, right? According to the five elements model. If you take the periodic table of elements model, has all of the things that the 5 elements model has, but doesn't have time and space. That's why the 5 elements is more flexible. This intelligence we call God, Ishvara, Lord, Brahma. So when we say all that is here is God, we're saying all that is here is intelligence, manifesting as the very forms we deal with. I see Ishvara, intelligence, manifesting as a plant. There's no plant and intelligence. It is intelligence in the form of a plant. We have arrived to something that we can all relate to. This is where devotion is. Devotion is at the level of intelligence, because you can't devote to that which is formless, which is consciousness. You are consciousness. To devote always involves devoter and devoted and devotee. So now you say, oh, okay, that's the final satyam. Now Vedanta comes in and says, no, there is one final satyam, which is consciousness. Thus, intelligence becomes mithya. How do we demonstrate this? Can knowledge be outside a conscious being? Can intelligence, can concepts be or exist outside a conscious being? No. And that's just at the microcosm, at the level of the individual. Can knowledge appear unless there is a conscious being to hold that, in the presence of whom that knowledge arises? So knowledge cannot appear, cannot manifest unless there is an existent conscious being in whom that arises. If that is true for you, it doesn't matter how big your mind gets, how big your intelligence gets. If it's true for a limited knowledge, it's also true for limitless knowledge. Limitless knowledge, which we call here Ishvara, cannot be outside a conscious being. Conscious existence supplying itself for intelligence to arise. You're supplying yourself as a conscious, awareful, existent being in whom intelligence just arises. What is intelligence made of? Like, I know that there is intelligent communication right now, and I can say 9 times 9 is 81, but what is going on? Like, what is it? What does it mean to have knowledge, to know things, to knowledge to arise? It's almost like it's so subtle, it really gets you to think. But while you're thinking, what is thinking? Neurons are moving. That's what thinking is. Neurons are moving. Now, what are neurons? Intelligence. So intelligence in a form of neurons is moving. In the presence of me, the unchanging witness, it is moving. So what's happening with intelligence? It's reshuffling constantly in the form of neurons. Do you see now when I say intelligence is reshuffling itself? Because all that is here is intelligence in the form of neurons. And according to my free will, I make that very intelligence in the form of neurons commit a sin or do an act that is glorious. I make intelligence reshuffle itself according to my free will. Intelligence just supplies itself in the form of neurons. How you move those neurons, that is up to you. So who's telling who? Is now God puppeting you or you're puppeting God? It's both, okay? In terms of, we're being within a certain order that you can't violate. You can't violate the laws of gravity. But at the same time, being given the free will, you're constantly telling this intelligence in what way to reshuffle itself in the brain.
But why is that not why scientists are stopping them at a certain point and they cannot figure this out, this Vedic vision? I cannot understand it. If you are intelligent, we can understand it somehow, and they are they cannot overlook this.
Yeah.
Instruments. They always want instruments.
Instruments.
Yeah, those are the rules of the game.
Is then, what's the difference between a neuron and a quark? Is the neuron still also physical? It's actually intelligence is physical.
So intelligence is intelligently reshuffling into the smallest of the smallest of the smallest, called a particle. The particle is intelligently reshuffling itself to manifest as proton and a neutron. Intelligently reshuffling to obtain as an atom. Intelligently reshuffling to obtain as a molecule. Intelligently reshuffling to obtain as a neuron. So what is a neuron really? Go down, 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 down. Is it really a neuron? Is it an atom? Is it a molecule? Or is it intelligence? So intelligence reshuffles as the smallest of the smallest of the smallest. And that's why we don't see it. Because, as we said earlier, you need the knowledge from top down. Remember that? You can't get this vision unless you're given the vision and then you use your logic to work your way down. What the scientists are trying to do is they're going from the bottom up. You have to be first told, here's intelligence, and now use logic, as we're doing here, to see how you can't get rid of intelligence on this side, but on this side, you can constantly get rid of names and forms, names and forms. Thus, they're all mithya. Intelligence is satyam. And then finally, right at the bottom, you say even intelligence depends on consciousness. Therefore, final satyam is consciousness. Yeah?
Yeah, you mentioned free will. I cannot find free will, but I suspect you don't want to talk about that now.
Different species are given a certain range of privilege. Okay, like a bird, it has free will as far as, flying, right? Or being limited to certain insects. So even if it's hungry and it's about to die and it can eat grass and the grass would help it, it's still not going to eat grass because it's programmed to just eat worms.
So it's programmed, it's not free will.
Yeah, exactly. So it's programmed, but it also has free will as into what direction to go, right? If I put a hand in front of it, what's going to happen? It's going to go zoom, it's going to go right past my hand. So as far as maneuvering itself out, that's what we call simple, basic choice to move. Otherwise, if it didn't have that basic choice, it would just, I'll put a hand and just go straight in. Now, I know you're going to probably say, yeah, but it's just responding to stimuli.
Yeah.
Well, you can say it's both ways. It's responding to stimuli, but there's a nice word for that. There's a basic ability to choose. You can probably create another example,
And you can have different responses to the same
Yeah.
stimuli.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can have
You have different
responses.
responses to the same stimuli.
Yeah.
So the stimuli does not oblige me to
Go right in my head.
Can go left
Yeah.
or right or left.
Right.
Yeah, but that's
the
in my experience that happens. That I cannot find a choice there.
You could say that animals have basic choice. Call it whatever you want. Free will, basic choice, whatever you want. Now, when it comes to humans, we're very unique in that sense. We're called manushyas, thinking beings. To think means you look at the new data and then you say, this worked last time. It's not going to work this time. For example, you have, a bad position on the CV and the person always lies. Okay, they always lie. And now they go to workplace and they get told, you know what, you better tell us the truth because we will find out. And so the person says, okay, I better, change my choice. I can't lie because I'm going to risk my job. So they tell the truth. And now they enter the workplace and they start to see that the environment is constantly checking up and you need to be honest. And now I have to constantly violate my previous choices of lying and getting my way. I have to be now honest. Every time I'm choosing new option.
Yeah, but one person is capable of doing that, of understanding that, and the other person is just not capable, does not understand it.
Yeah. Another way to explain that is, as I said on the board yesterday or so on, we're in the Gita, which you were all falling asleep. See, when you're confronted with three options or any choice, you always have the ability to do something, not do anything, just don't say anything, or do something different, creative. That requires effort. And a lot of people don't like effort. They like mechanical mode of thinking. And then they say, I don't have free will because I just keep on responding mechanically. But if I choose something different, for example, this seminar, this year, I said, I'm going to choose something different. I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to get you guys to answer questions. Okay? That is a different choice that I haven't done before. Before I was number one, doing the same thing. Now I'm going to do something different. Or 3, you don't have to do anything. So just think of free will as just a basic, a relatively, not a completely free. We don't have complete free will. It is confined. Because look at this. Okay, I've got free will. Okay, fly. Fly for me, please. Not working. So our free will is limited to a range, just enough to be able to do our basic humanity business.
Yeah, and for each human it's different.
Yes, because it depends on the maturity of exercising these 3 options.
Yeah.
So we can choose the path, but the end is realization of what you are. That is the end. But we can choose how we do it, in how long time, hard way, the soft way, whatever. But end is already.
Yeah. Now all that choosing, happens at the level of the body and mind. Now you often hear, I have free will, I don't have free will. Both are true.
Yeah.
You see this? What has capacity to choose? The body, mind. What doesn't have free will? What doesn't have capacity to choose? Consciousness is not a decision maker, doesn't have a mind to choose. Okay? So I, consciousness, don't have free will. I, body, mind, have free will. In fact, in the Gita, Krishna says, for me, there is nothing to be done. I don't have any free will here. There's nothing to be done. I'm already everything. That which I am, everything. What is there to do? Because free will is only in reference to things you don't already have accomplished. I'm already everything. And yet, I do what is to be done. Yet my body, what is this I referring to? Krishna says this. Yet my body and mind does what needs to be done in the moment.
And to apply that free will is the intellect. So basically you need to develop that intellect to exercise the correct free will.
Not only that, you need enough education to be able to even apply the right choice. That's why education is so important. If I don't have education, I can only apply the same thing I've applied before. The more we expand our possibilities, the more I can expand my capacity of options. So even free will is limited, but it is within boundaries, according to your development. I can keep it here, or I can make it like this.
I was wondering if we could break down the mind as well as we did with the body. Could be.
Now, what about the mind? Mind, we said, is movement of thoughts and insights and emotion. Now, this is where you need the 5 elements model. Because now you ask, what is thought made of? Answer is made of 5 elements. So 5 elements is, it's still matter, but it's a more flexible, very dynamic and fluid matter. How to relate to this? Simple. When you dream, you're experiencing 5 subtle elements. Fluid, very fluid. You know, it from one day it's like moment it's Mickey Mouse, to the next it's on the mountain. Very fluid, constantly shaping and shifting and molding. That's called 5 subtle elements. Every single day you experience it if you dream. That's what mind is made of. If I want to be happy right now, that concept of happiness, did you create that concept of happiness? Or you just experience it? It just gets generated in the mind. Happiness or concern. That's not physical matter, is it? Concern. How do you see concern or doubt on a microscope? Do you see that? No. But I know it's there. Now that which I know, which is a concern, we say in the Veda, it is 5 elements, it is matter. So it's just constantly matter reshuffling itself. That's all you're ever concerned about. 5 elements.
We could also say when we dream, we actually experience atoms in a certain arrangement in form of the subtle elements.
I see. I wouldn't call 5 elements atoms. Atoms are only 5 gross elements, but these are 5 subtle elements. 5 subtle elements. So in the dream, what you're experiencing is the mind. Now, what's the mind called? What's the mind made of? 5 subtle elements.
To see them in the dream, you have to create a dream microscope.
Exactly. Yeah, that would be kind of cool. Attach onto your wife while she's dreaming. Yeah.
Yeah. If we are going back to the creation model,
Yeah.
then I see that first subtle body is coming and then the 5 elements. But if you are saying it is made of the 5 elements.
Good. So you put before those subtle body, before that is the 5 subtle elements. In the creation model, I only talked about the 5 gross elements.
I see. So before subtle body is 5 elements.
5 subtle elements. Yeah.
So we have potential and then 5 subtle elements.
Potential Hiranya Garbha, 5 subtle elements, subtle body.
Subtle.
Yeah.
body.
Yeah.
And even the guna parts of it. No?
5 Yeah, it's a model. Again, I'm not...
Was it Tattva Bodha?
Huh?
Was it Tattva Bodha?
Tattva Bodha, yeah. It's going to be, probably going to come up sooner or later in a different Upanishad. It's a matter of speech. So subtle elements are in their thought form. Gross elements are they got more physicality. That's the only difference. Now, if you want the technicalities of this, okay, so going back to Petra, you got Hiranyagarbha, right, which is the blueprint. Now, from this blueprint comes 5 subtle, which is space, air, fire, water, earth. So this is subtle state. This is before time and space. Physical, because time and space is made of 5 gross elements. There's no time and space yet. So this is all used to generate subtle body or thoughts. So now we divide them by a half. Okay? So each one of them preserves 50% of their original, and then divide this into a quarter. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you take 12.5% and you attach it. You put 12.5% of space into air, 12.5% of space into fire, 12.5% into water, and then you just repeat that. 12.5% of air into space, 12.5% of air into fire, 12.5% of air into water. So what does this mean now? Every subtle element has a little bit of the other inside it. According to the Vedas, the moment that happens is when you have 5 gross elements, which is as good as saying time and space. Okay, so this is what they want to show you about how the conversion happens. Panchikaran, that's what it's called. What is this? It's a model.
But it's very, very clever.
Yeah.
It's a long time ago when somebody thought this up. It's very, very, very clever.
It's well thought through to show you that there is always a connection. Everything's connected.
This interrelation and going forward.
Yeah.
And would you say this is apara vidya?
This is all apara vidya. If it helps to pacify your mind, it is also necessary. Only to the point where I appreciate this, as the wonderful intelligence, but you have no doubt about your unchanging, non-participating, non-interfering, non-verbalized, ever true, ever available presence that never left. Then all of this aparavidya has done what it was supposed to do to bring you to paravidya. So,
The upper bird.
yeah, to get to Hari's question, is this all aparavidya? Yes. Now we have to put it into paravidya, which is the next verse. Verse 2. Samane vrikshe purushaha nimagnaha anishaya shochati muhya manaha jushtam yatha pashyati anyam isham asya mahimanam iti vita shokaha. Okay, so coming back to the bird analogy, can you see now why a possibility, why bird number 1, the one that was relishing the fruits, why it's constantly going through that journey? What is that bird now made of, actually? What is its final cause? Consciousness. But it doesn't know that. So its form is as good as real. Its self is as good as the bird. So for that, it has to sort of participate in the world. There's no other choice. Now, so this first bird, its notion of self, its understanding of self, it is restricted to the 5 elements, the body and mind. And thus, there's a certain demand of more from me. It has to kind of go around and be entertained and be a famous bird, chirp, have the nicest chirp around and be noticed. And it soon realizes life is always one step ahead of me, because the ashwatha tree is not the same. It thought I had it. I've got the perfect environment. Tomorrow, everything has been reshuffled, because intelligence never stops reshuffling. Because every time we throw a new cause into the field, you affect the entire universe. We don't think like this. We just think, oh, it's small earth here, but our thoughts, everything we do, affects the total creation. Because everything is cause and effect. You're never apart from anything else. So if everything is connected within the web, every ripple affects another ripple. So life is always one step ahead of me, recognizes the first bird. And so by coming to a point of humility, eventually, the bird says, I need to play by the rules of the game. I can't cheat the system. The Ashwatha tree has certain rules designed in which I'm a participant of, and I can't crash against other birds. There are consequences. So through this, it starts to exercise more of its capacity of choice. It no longer sticks on one tree. The skateboarders are great, bicyclists are great, everything's great. But it says, I love you guys, but I'm gonna, ship myself and learn something. And now, through constant redirection to the rules of the game, it keeps on gaining more and more punyam, and it starts to attract a different kind of people. Those who are connected to other kinds of birds. Eventually, it gets recommended to the guru bird. That is the bird number 2, the bird that's understood the truth. And then this guru bird starts to say something. He says, Mr. Bird number 1, I'm going to show you how to come out of this bird business. I want to show you you're much more than this bird. So what am I going to show you? Well, first I have to show you in Vedanta, it's called Neti-Neti. I have to first show you what you are not. Because you are very familiar with what you are, and I'm going to go straight onto what you're familiar with. Your bird-like body is designed to act and to know and to experience. It's constantly generating sensations. That's all your body does and your mind does. It's made to generate sensations or experiences. That's all your body mind is. It's a experience generating machine. And it's a participant within these laws, and it experiences consequences, so it's constantly going through this. So your gross body, Mr. Bird, if you look at it according to this chart, do you really have a body? And he says, well, look at this. If you were as good as your energy levels, your prana, then when you drink coffee, then you, Mr. or Mrs. Awareness, should be more aware. Is this your experience? When your energy is higher, are you more aware? No. When your energy is like yesterday, when it's low, are you less aware? No. You are equally aware despite the levels of your energy rising and falling. If you were as good as the body, then you would experience constant change, because last time I heard we lose 900 million cells every couple of minutes. You cut a finger off and suddenly I experience myself less. But we've seen people with amputated limbs where they're completely normal. We've even had, taken one half of the brain taken out. Still, I know that I am. If you were as good as your roles that you play, if you were good as the thinker is a doer, because when thinking happens, what's thinking? It's doing, right? So thinker equals doer. If you were the doer or the thinker, that when you think more, you should be more aware. And when you stop thinking, you should go out of existence. You should go out of awareness. Is that your experience? No. If you were as good as your ahamkara, the sense of individuality, that which gives you a sense of individuality, it gives your all-pervasive I the sense that it's confined. That's what the I sense does. The job of the ego is to take this all-pervasive I and make it seem like it is localized right here, right now. Okay, And this ahamkara, we said, plays roles. If you were as good as a role, such as king, then you wouldn't dare go to sleep or dream. Because in a dream, you're not a king, you are a beggar. But we gladly go to dream, which means that there's something in me that understands I am not my roles that I play. There's something in me that understands that I am not the waker or the dreamer, because there will be neither the waker nor the dreamer in deep sleep. You cannot be the body, because do you identify yourself with space right now? Do you identify yourself with air right here? Air. Do you identify yourself with, suppose we have like fire over here, and you say, that's me. No. How about with water? I have a pool of water, that's me. What about earth, soil? That's me. Do you do that? No. Well, no. And yet those very 5 elements is the same elements in your body. Oh, now I identify with it. I don't identify with it over here, but when it's over here, I identify with it. The 5 elements you're looking at all the time, that's not me. I'm not fire. Fire is this. I'm not earth. Earth is this. I can't be the body either. Nor can I be my desires and fancies, likes and dislikes. Another name for desires and fancies is a causal body. In other words, causal body manifests as desires and fancies. So that means that if you were as good as your desire, okay, when the desire goes, you should go. When you have, if you think you're, I love, whatever it is, big, fancy things, then when you go inside the ugliest house ever, your sense of I-ness should be completely eliminated. So aversion and fancies don't have any bearing on you. Therefore, you're free of the causal of the gross body, 5 elements, free of the subtle body, free of the causal body. So what is this called? Neti-Neti. I first mention what I identify myself with. The body, we all are familiar. The mind, we're all familiar. Desires and fancies, we're all familiar. And then we say, you're not that, and let me show you how you are not that. I just said, if you were as good as the doer is the thinker, then when the doer or the thinker stops doing, you should disappear. But you don't. Therefore, I have to be different from the doer. If you were the experiencer, then when the experience, then the bird says, now that we've done Neti-Neti, who are you? This we will see in the next session. Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Avashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.